Most men think attraction starts when they speak. When they try harder. When they finally do the right thing. But psychology says something uncomfortable. People decide how attractive you are before you ever open your mouth. In less than a second, your posture, your grooming, your presence, they've already written the first version of you in someone else's mind. And here's the part most men don't want to hear. That first version is hard to change later. So the real question is not, how do I impress people? It's, what is your presence saying about you before you even realize it? In the next few minutes, you're going to understand something most men never fully learn, how attraction actually forms in real life, not in theory, not in motivational quotes. We're going to break down what psychologists call perceived value signals, the small, unconscious cues that shape how others experience you. And more importantly, you're going to learn how to change them. Not in an artificial, fake alpha way, but in a grounded, natural way that makes you look better, feel better, and move differently in the world. Because a glow-up isn't just about appearance. It's about alignment between how you look, how you move, and how you feel inside. And once those three things sync up, people don't just notice you. They respond to you differently. Think of a man walking into a room. Clean haircut, fitted shirt, steady posture. He hasn't said anything yet, but people already assume he's disciplined, confident, maybe even successful. Now imagine the opposite. Same man, but unkempt, slouched, distracted. Suddenly the assumptions change completely. This is not judgment. This is psychology. It's called the halo effect, when one visible trait influences how people interpret everything else about you. Your brain does this automatically because it's trying to save energy. It looks for shortcuts. So when you improve your grooming, your skin, your fitness, your clothing, you are not just looking better. You are rewriting the assumptions people make about your entire personality. Here's the practical shift: don't aim to look rich or perfect. Aim to look intentional. That means clean edges in your haircut. Clothes that fit your body, not just your size. Skin that looks like you take care of yourself. Because intention signals self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of attraction. Now once your appearance stops working against you, the next layer becomes even more powerful. Your body language. Picture two men standing in the same place. One is slightly hunched, hands in pockets, eyes scanning the floor. The other is upright, shoulders relaxed, breathing slow, eyes steady but not aggressive. Neither has spoken. But they are already being experienced differently. This is where most men misunderstand confidence. Confidence is not a personality trait. It is a nervous system state. When you are anxious, your body compresses. When you are calm, your body expands. People don't consciously analyze this, they feel it. So the goal is not to act confident. The goal is to regulate your internal state so your body stops broadcasting tension. Practical adjustments: slow your walking pace by just 10 to 15%. Keep your shoulders open, not rigid. Maintain soft eye contact, not staring, not avoiding. Exhale fully before speaking. That last one matters more than most men realize. A controlled exhale signals safety, to your body and to others. And once your body starts communicating stability, people start trusting you without knowing why. But there is still another layer underneath this. Something even more identity-based. Most men approach style like decoration. As if clothes are just something you put on top of who you are. But psychologically, clothing is not decoration. It is communication. A man in structured, well-fitted clothing communicates order. A man in loose, careless clothing communicates indifference. A man in overly flashy clothing communicates insecurity disguised as attention-seeking. None of these are good or bad on their own. But they all send signals. Here's what's important: people don't just see your outfit. They interpret your relationship with yourself through it. A mature, attractive style doesn't scream. It aligns. Neutral colors. Clean lines. Clothing that fits your body without fighting it. Think of your style as removing noise, not adding complexity. Because the more visually calm you look, the more psychologically stable you appear. And stability is deeply attractive, especially to mature women who are not looking for chaos, but consistency. Now here's where things start to shift from external to internal. Let's pause for a second. If attraction were only about looks, then the most attractive men in the world would never feel lonely. But they do. And men who don't fit conventional standards often still attract deeply meaningful relationships. So what's missing? It's not appearance. It's emotional energy regulation. Let that sink in. Because the real glow up is not becoming someone new. It's becoming someone whose internal state is no longer leaking insecurity into every interaction. Now let's go deeper into that. Think of a man trying too hard in a conversation. Talking fast, over-explaining, filling every silence. Now compare that to a man who speaks slower. Who pauses. Who is okay with silence. The difference is not intelligence. It is internal pressure. Your voice is one of the most honest indicators of your emotional state. When you are anxious, your speech speeds up. When you are grounded, your speech slows down naturally. This is why attraction often increases when a man becomes more comfortable with pauses. Silence is not awkward. Silence is dominance over panic. Practical shift. Before speaking, take a half-second pause. Let your sentence begin from calm, not urgency. And stop trying to fill conversations. Presence is not about volume. It's about control over timing. Because people don't remember every word you say. They remember how it felt to be around your voice. And when your voice carries calm certainty, you become emotionally easier to trust. Which leads directly into the final and deepest layer. At the core of every glow-up is one psychological truth: you cannot consistently project what you do not internally believe. A man can improve his body, his style, his communication, and still feel empty if his self-worth hasn't shifted. This is where attachment psychology becomes important. Men who rely heavily on external validation often unconsciously adjust their behavior to avoid rejection. They over-explain. They people-please. They hesitate. Not because they are weak, but because their nervous system is protecting them from perceived abandonment. Real confidence is not, "I want everyone to like me." It is, "I can handle being misunderstood." That shift changes everything. Because when you stop negotiating your worth in real time, your behavior becomes cleaner. Simpler. More direct. You don't chase. You don't overextend. You don't perform. You simply exist without apology. And paradoxically, that is when you become most attractive. Not because you tried harder, but because you stopped leaking uncertainty. Here's the truth most men only learn too late. Attraction is not about becoming someone else. It's about removing the internal friction that makes you feel smaller than you are. Every improvement we talked about, your body, your style, your voice, your presence, it all points to one thing. Alignment. When your outer expression matches your inner stability, people feel it instantly. Not because they understand it, but because the nervous system recognizes safety, clarity, and grounded presence. And in a world where most people are distracted, anxious, and performing, a calm, self-contained man stands out without trying. Pause, not loud. Not desperate. Not inflated. Just real. And that reality is what people remember long after you leave the room. If this resonated with you, don't just move on from it mentally. Notice one area in your life where you are still performing instead of aligning, and start there. Because transformation doesn't begin everywhere at once. It begins in one honest correction. Now I'm curious. Which part of this hits you the hardest? Appearance, body language, voice, or internal confidence? Write it down in the comments. Not for validation, but for clarity. And in the next video, we'll go deeper into something even more powerful, how women actually test a man's emotional stability without saying a word, and what most men completely miss in those moments. Until then, work on becoming the kind of man whose presence feels like calm in a noisy world.